county, that's just a big community to me. And regarding rugby, I mean, as a supporter, it's a family. We look after each other. You know, we sing together and we enjoy the rugby together, you know, and that's all it's about. It doesn't matter. I mean, whether it's the Tamar Cup or the Twickenham final, you know, we're there to make our presence as a Cornish supporter felt for the benefit of the team, and the team are giving equally back, I think, in performance.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, I mean, it never fails us, I don't think. In every game, you never know what to expect, because each team is going to present something different, something really challenging to the guys, and it's their tenacity, I think, as a team that always astounds us. It's the spirit of the game, isn't it? You know.
Obviously, the expectation is obviously always going to be on Cornwall anyway, getting to the final, making sure we're in and amongst it. But I think obviously having such a young team, and when I say expectation, it's expectation from fans and within ourselves, but people outside the circle probably didn't think we were going to get very far, just purely because I think the team was very young. We're restarting from the start again. Do you know what I mean? And that's the kind of thing. When I say young, it's just different people, different personnel being within the setup, rather than having the same old names in there. And with Fuchs being on board and the coaching side of stuff, and Marek and Graham, I think it's a good balance. And for me, I was just excited. I always want to play for Cornwall, and that's the team. I just get excited putting on black and gold, and I always fight to play in the Tamar Cup games. And people are, why do you want to play in that? Like, because it's another cap for Cornwall. It's another game that I can play against Devon and beat Devon, and and I'm just really excited, really.
I don't think it takes a lot to get a Cornwall team back on track, because I think everyone wants to play for Cornwall at the end of the year, with a great opportunity to play at Twickenham. So the most interesting thing for me is obviously speaking to the selectors and the guys and the committee members of the CRFU that go and watch different games every weekend and getting that feedback. And I think the Sunday morning meetups at Lanhydrock with Dorsey and the other selectors is always a long morning, but it's always a fruitful morning at the same time. So I think the exciting part is when you've got people that have come back to the county or affiliated with a county that want to play for Cornwall. To name a few, you know, we had some real superstars look to play this year. Unfortunately, that didn't happen for obvious reasons. But you know, the start of any campaign is about identifying who's available, because it is a long season. But then obviously looking at combinations and what our best go-to team could possibly be. And I think what we have as a luxury that probably any other county doesn't have is a Tamar Cup, where we can use that as a catalyst to really kickstart our season. And you can see from the guys that put the hand up and want to play for Cornwall each year that it's just super exciting time, because it is almost a bit barbarian. Come together, a couple of sessions, and then, you know, base the game around the players rather than what we want as coaches, because ultimately it's, you know, you've got 2 hours in a week to probably formalise a structure defensively and attack, and it's picking smart rugby players that can cope with the information and go out there and play.
It was good. Like Maz said, we had a good group of boys as well, and I think the group what we had, the whole group were really driven and really determined to play for the county as well, which always helps. And and just like obviously the coaching with Marek and Graham, you know, it was brilliant, and we just come together like a club side really. And again, like Matt said, it was a bit barbarian-like, but the way we come together is brilliant, and we almost formed that sort of club team in a short period of time, and you know, everyone shoulder to shoulder was fighting for each other, which is good.
Robert, a lot of the younger lads I know, you know, I've known Marek, I've known Fraser, I know Brad Howe, I know Jack Cole, Wilton, Simo, Cheppy, you know, for good, you know, I've known these boys since they were boys. I don't want to sound rude to them, and they were developing into men. And that was a big thing to me as one last hurrah type thing with these young men, and yeah, I wanted to do it. You know, my wife's from here, my kids were born on here, and I just wanted to give something a bit back, just one more last hurrah type thing. So yeah, and it was, you know, like Marek and Fraser said, that the boys were all good lads. Hilts, never played with Hilts. I've heard of him, known of him. You know, when I watched last year, and like I said, he's a good bloke as well. And I think that was the biggest thing. In fact, all of the lads were good blokes, and that's 90% of it, because there's no chips, no Mr. Big Man, I am, and all that. It's a group of men that were wanting to win it and wanting to play at Twickenham, and that's the end goal. You know, to play at Twickenham. I mean, I've only played there twice, so you know, that's why I did it.
It's a great atmosphere. I think from the moment you get to the ground to the moment you leave, the atmosphere is still around. I think that, you mean, you got the positives during the game and getting you through attack and defence, and like a lot of people say, it's like the 16th man. So to bring the whole atmosphere after the game, like you said, in the bar and even in the bar before the game, even, you mean, warming up, you just get that buzz, and you mean, it doesn't take a lot to switch on. You mean, as soon as you're there, it's the atmosphere. So yeah, by having the support we've had for not just the last campaign but 3 or 4 years, you mean that, well, it's back as long as I can remember, even watching the crowd at Redruth and whatever, Hamborne, and even travelling, it's always been good. So you mean, getting motivated for a away game, it does help. The atmosphere is always there. So yeah, it's all credit to the supporters, really. You do a great job.
Everyone's season finished on the Saturday, and then we met up at Redruth that Tuesday to play Kent on the Saturday. It was good to see everyone from their clubs, and yeah, just was a really good feel about it. Everyone was pretty confident because everyone individually had really good seasons for their respective clubs, and everyone just kind of, it was almost like we played alongside each other for a long time. Yeah, training was good. Yeah, it was a good couple sessions of training before camp.
You know, that it might be your first and it might be my last kind of conversation. There are a few of us more seasoned guys around, and I remember looking around and thinking, you know, being really honest, having a chat with a few of the guys and sort of looking at the squad, and although full of promise, you know, a lot of them it would probably be either the highest level they'd played or the first time playing sort of a representative game. And it is completely different. You can be a promising player, you know, playing in any of the club sides in and around Cornwall or Devon, but actually that step up to county rugby, and especially into the championship sort of league or tier, as Rob would say. That is a big step up, and I think the pace of the game, as Tony says as well, on a dry track for some of us bigger boys, you know, it's intimidating, and going so far away from home and trying to get the message across to the young lads. It's not a Colts game. It's not an A-League game. This actually means something to some of us, and you know, I think that I sort of tried to just say to them that enjoy it, but also, you know, you have to put the graft in, because you'll let the boys down next to you, and there's some boys that have been around a long time, and you know, a number of friends I've played with, and the coaches and stuff like that, and people invest a hell of a lot of personal time into making playing for Cornwall something special. And I think that there is a discrepancy or a disparity with some of the younger guys maybe seeing county rugby as a step backwards in terms of their career development, whereas, you know, for some of the older guys, Tony, myself, Marek, Rob, and you go down through, you know, some of the wonderful characters that we play with. You know, we earned our spurs playing third team rugby or second team rugby, or playing for the vets when there was a chance to get a game and things like that when you're a young lad, whereas that structure isn't in place anymore because you're in academies and colleges and ACE programs and things like that. So it was trying to get a message across to be respectful of the standards and what it means to some of us old timers, but also it could be a huge stepping stone for your career. And some of the magnificent players that have come through and gone on to be, you know, full-time or Premiership rugby players that started off running around in a Cornwall shirt, not really understanding what playing in front of big crowds was. I think there's expectation among the squad. You know, obviously it's harder when you're changing the guard in terms of lots of younger guys coming in and blooding so many new ones at the same time. I remember chatting to, as I said, a couple of senior guys, and you know, we were probably slightly anxious about looking at the squad on a name for name basis and a level for level basis, especially against you know, considerable players from you know, National One and things. And on paper, that game was Kent's, and I think that they thought it would be as well, because it wasn't a traditional Cornish side that of the years gone by that were all relatively well-established National League names. There are a few new guys, a few kind of debut season players and things like that. And I think that the way that you come together is, you know, it's difficult to put into words, but I do think there's a collegiate kind of togetherness and a family, and also a bit of, you know, being Cornish. I think there's a, when you're around down here, I think you can have a chat and stuff like that, and you get the gauge of people very quickly. And I think that it just demands for people to buy in, and the coaches as well. They in the committee,